Good afternoon. We'll get started. This is a work session for American Rescue Plan Act to go over where we're at so far and what our next steps are. Do we need a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make the motion to approve the agenda.
Great. Moved and seconded. Heads. Aye. Merkin.
Aye.
Basil, aye. Updates from previous meeting.
I think one of our bigger updates is just the additional information that we've gotten from this Treasury on reporting and additional information from my staff that's kind of related to that. Wouldn't you say, Lisa?
Probably. Yeah, like I just said, I'm in the middle right now of watching the Treasury's latest webinar on how to complete the quarterly report.
Reporting is getting more and more complicated as we move forward.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to.
If I recall, they changed the coding.
Yep.
When I watched the webinar that you were on the other day,
Mhm.
I watched that. They were pretty clear on saying that making sure your projects match up, your coding matches up to your projects.
Correct. And
That was emphasized.
there is no such thing as not having additional information. Like, for instance, I think I told you the HVAC project was a capital. It's not a capital anymore because they took that away. It's a different kind of a project. And now I have to say who we're impacting and how we're impacting those people by doing an HVAC project.
Can you walk me through that? You
Sure.
lost me there for a second.
Sure.
Sorry.
So instead of just putting it in as a project and saying, this is what we're gonna, this is what we're doing, it's not coded that way anymore under the new expense codes. Oh, thank you. It's a different code, and when I put in that code, then it pulls up additional questions that I have to answer, which are, who are we impacting?
Okay.
What are the demographics we're impacting? How are we impacting it?
What are the demographics?
Correct.
They're wanting to ensure-
internal projects.
They're wanting to ensure that funds are being used in a way that keeps equity at the center of the funding. That's what that's about, I'm guessing.
It's just extra work for internal projects. I can understand it's for the external ones that you're.
Oh,
talking about,
absolutely.
internal.
Right.
Absolutely.
But they don't make, but Treasury doesn't make a distinction, right? For
No, absolutely
Right,
not.
right. But they should have a checkbox to say internal project.
So it went from being just a category for capital projects. So
It
what's
was
the
like
new
1.7. I think it was a capital expenditure or something to that effect that for the HVAC system in that case.
Uh-huh.
That project went 1.7 went completely away.
It's not even an option to
No.
be used for any
No.
projects.
No.
Okay. And so now.
So
what
now
do I
it's
have
a
here?
different code, and it's 1.4 is what it crosswalked to, if I'm not mistaken. And in 1.4, then you have to answer additional questions.
What's the name of that category?
What is 1.4? I didn't bring that.
You're not sleeping with it?
Yeah.
Prevention and, that's prevention in congregate settings, which is, they give examples of nursing homes, prisons, jails, dens, work sites, schools, etc.
So we're figuring that's dense work sites.
And etc.
And et cetera.
I'm just wondering if maybe there isn't another
I
category.
wish I could have found something that I
Oh,
liked better, but there wasn't anything that was,
That's the interim final rule. Wait. Yeah, it's the same one. Yeah, 1.7 is the other
right,
category.
that was just perfect for this one.
Yeah.
Until it took it away. And you can't enter anything until you determine what the anything you enter has to have an expense category. That's the very beginning of the reporting.
So are there other things that came under other that now you're gonna have to do differently?
That was the
This is
only one.
we did, well, there's that, at least.
One thing I learned from Lisa, you can only have one expenditure category. When we got to like there were a couple when I went through a list that fit into like the stories. Yeah, I think the Story City project fits into a couple. But we have to pick and choose. Lisa has to pick and choose the best one that fits.
Yeah, you can't have more than one expense category per project.
So when we went through before and we kind of identified
Right.
which ones they went in,
Mhm.
if we need a couple of them.
Right.
We can't show that, only show one.
Yeah, go over my stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. And I have a couple other things I noted on here. They're not on here. So Lisa and I are tracking our time. You're not.
Probably
I am.
should be.
I'm tracking my time. So this is just specific for the stuff I've been working on, not what Lisa's been doing, but I'm keeping a separate timesheet so I can track time and then that gets turned in to bookkeeping.
So when we paid Leanne last time, there was her first time she had done that. So I went ahead and built account codes in the ARPA funding. We had set aside some dollars for contract labor. So I moved it around. We're paying her whatever percent she worked that pay period out of the ARPA funds. That includes her percent, I think it was 30% last time,
I
salary,
can't even tell you.
FICA, IFRS, and insurance.
So that's how the administrative costs.
Correct,
500,000 was set aside.
correct.
And we could be charging your time as well.
Yes, yes, absolutely, we can be. I'm not doing it. I'm not designating X number of a day or 2 days or whatever. It's as I go.
Sure.
And I certainly can track my time and I'll.
Just another thing, but
Well, and even mine are just rough estimate. Mine are the
Right.
dates that I know I'm working on ARPA out of the office, or I know I've set block aside time here. But like Lisa, it's like something will pop up and I'll do that. I think we were looking at quintiles last week or something. I don't think I put down time sheet. I mean, just odds and ends like
Yeah,
that.
that was the other thing for the project for the HVAC. No, was it?
No, it wasn't HVAC.
It
What
wasn't
was it?
HVAC. Oh, it was the,
It's
workforce.
no, it wasn't. I'm losing track of everything.
So it's,
And this
no,
is
it
early
was
on.
it was the project that Mike
Oh,
gave us for the
stream bank
stream
stabilization.
bank stabilization. All of the water ones fall under category 5 still. And you have to know the median income and the
Lowest 20% quintile.
right, of every project you do
Mhm.
in that field, quote unquote field.
So Lisa's been learning the US Census website. I've been learning along with her, and so that's kind of stuff
median
that's not on
income
here.
of people who live in the area that will be served. So
I think we did
just
all
doing
Story County.
Because I'm not
Right.
gonna try to
that would be
specify.
ridiculous.
So, yeah, that's not on here. I am tracking my time. really, it seems so minimal. I feel when I wrote this, I'm like, oh, I haven't done anything, have I? But it's, that first bullet point is reviewing the treasury rule and all the guidance. I
It's
still,
enormous.
it's enormous, and I still am, every chance I get to do a webinar or something, training, or go back and watch it, I'm doing it. And then I walk away with more questions. And so that will be ongoing, and that's taking a lot of time. Very grateful for Darla being able to help me. And you'll see her, she's in there actually organizing the paper folders. So we have the record keeping for all the applicants that we've done thus far. And then I actually have gone internally and done folders and like Outlook. I mean, it's just housekeeping items that just take an enormous amount of time. And I may be running out of space on Outlook at some point, I think, but I'll deal with that. Contracts have been sent, the draft ones, as you know, to Ethan and Tim for review. So I have not heard back from them. Actually, even since I've sent them, there's like 3 more things I want to build into them. I have a Google sheet, a Google form that I'll be sending the 3 of you either today or later, and the ARPA subcommittee today or maybe tomorrow morning, to start getting some additional of the specificity for the individual applications. You'll remember the either attachment or exhibit had for if a specific application you wanted additional conditions of approval. I'm going to use a Google form to get that input back. I think that might be easiest
Input that from.
from the 3 of you and the ARPA subcommittee. Feedback. And then we'll start talking now.
Aren't you just gonna take that out of the RFPs?
Not sure what you mean.
Aren't you ever take that out of the applications?
The applications are going to be attached. They're exhibit A or B.
Okay, but you're saying what additional performance
there any,
measures do we want besides what we?
Besides what we need to have for the reporting. And there may not be any. There may,
Will, is it possible that that will not need attorney review, so that won't slow it down?
Ethan knows that that may be coming.
I'm just thinking, yeah. But I'm
Yeah.
looking at this and saying, oh my gosh, people are waiting for these contracts.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm thinking anything we add to them that isn't necessary, that requires attorney review is gonna slow that down for them.
If the
Right.
board is comfortable not having those, I mean,
I
can-
think it's a good idea that we look at it. I think we need to consider it because yes, I know people are waiting. But I think it's in our best interest if there are additional performance measures that we make sure that we've covered those.
I was
bases.
just hoping that you, the ones that are obvious, that you would pull them out of the applications rather than us going back and reviewing all the applications. But I'm afraid that'll slow it down.
I don't think that's it.
Yeah.
Maybe I misunderstood.
Yeah, I mean, the applications that were all submitted are part of the contracts, so they're
Yes.
contractually bound to those. If there's anything above and beyond that through your discussions and deliberations and review of the applications that you're like, and the knowledge of the applicant is part of the vetting process too, that I really think we need to be concerned about this, so let's address that.
Okay, they may have to meet it because they said it in the application, but unless we put it in the appendix that talks about performance measures, we're not going to get the data. That's what I was saying.
Not quite following what you're.
Well, you're going to set up some kind of performance measure reporting that the applicants are going to have to do.
Yes,
And that will include performance measures, not just what the supervisor. I can just say, are you doing everything that's in your application? That's your performance measure. What I was hoping is that you would go through the applications and start putting together the performance measure document based on what was logical that was in the applications.
I
Rather
can
than,
do that.
rather than starting it with the supervisors, that would
I
be part of
can
what
do
you
that.
would do.
Yes, I can do that. In addition to what you probably have not seen what the reports look like from the treasury, the amount of information.
No.
So maybe that's where I start. What do you think, Lisa? Putting that in the document?
Yeah,
Or Excel spreadsheets.
I uploaded all of the templates so that for each category, expense category, I put them on the S drive. And we can use, okay, so if it's this expense category, then this is what they need to fill out every quarter. And there's required information and there's optional information and there's dependent information and all depends on information and things like that. So those are on the S drive for Leanne or for anyone to look at. All of them are going to ask for project demographics, medium income, so it's going to all those types of things.
Yeah.
No matter what.
So was it under the ARPA?
It's under the ARPA S drive and in the S drive or under the ARPA. There should be a bunch of templates.
Under program manager?
And those are things
No.
we want our recipients to report on, correct?
They have to, yeah.
So then we're gonna have to get those into the appendix in the contract, right?
They are built into,
So it is under.
So for a project, for that type of a project, this is.
they are built into the reference. The categories are all referenced in the draft contracts right now.
Go across and tells you what else is required.
What is the project expenditure category, subcategory name? Reaching status, adopted budget, total.
Which one did you open? Just the
Project
project?
One, I think.
Projects 1.1 and it is 1.7.
And one of my other housekeeping items I'll be tackling is going through and having one for each expenditure category. So that I can easily just send it, just rename them.
Right,
And so I can easily
Right.
send it to the
so
applicant.
that,
That's
yeah,
housekeeping that I just need to do.
because like I've already got one for the
Workforce.
workforce, I've got one for the stabilization, and I've got one for the HVAC, specific for those projects.
That's that one. And
And it's just lovely because you can't print the whole thing. You can't. I mean, see how it stops at 2.1 assistance and you can't see anything under that? Yeah, it doesn't expand down. It's just, those templates are fun.
And so we toyed with the idea of making these a fillable form, using a form center. That's just gonna be more work for me and Lisa
Right.
in the long run, so.
Right, now, yeah, I mean, if they just go down to the row 8 and fill it out each time, or fill it out the first time, and hopefully it just carries through, and all I have to do is enter in my reporting the expense. I can take off of here what they answered and just put my expenses for the quarter in there.
So these, Linda, to get to your question, these same categories then are in the contract.
Okay, and they'll be in a format in your Google Doc that people can utilize. Or they'll be in a fillable report somewhere.
For the subrecipients and beneficiaries?
Yes.
No, they're gonna get an Excel spreadsheet.
Okay, they're gonna get something they can fill
Yeah.
in. They don't have to go through the contract and create their own
No.
reporting mechanism. You're gonna create the
Yep.
reporting.
We're gonna
We're
send
using this,
this.
keeping it very, I mean,
Okay, what was that again? I wasn't on the S drive.
It's under S drive, under ARPA, it's under
Projects.
There's all kinds of Excel spreadsheets, project this, project that,
Oh,
project
this
this, project that. Depends on what expense code they fall under
and we,
as to which one they need to fill out.
we may need to get to a point where they get locked down. So only certain individuals can edit them too, because this will be the historical record
Mhm.
then for the reporting from here on to years from now. But for now, they're just the templates to,
Yeah,
That we
those are
downloaded.
purely templates at this point in time. Like I said, with the exception of the 3 projects that we are actually have started paying on. Those I have them named that so that I can they upload, or they send them to me, I can upload them and then answer the questions when I'm filling out the quarterly report.
That's a good, so Lisa's doing all the internal reporting. I'm doing all the external reporting as well. And we, early on, like a couple weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, I met with Lisa. And then I met with Ethan and Tim too, just to talk about the contracts, what would be required. Lisa and I went over a lot. My head's still spinning, trying to figure out a lot of this stuff. So yeah, I can go into all the applications and take a stab if there's any additional items.
A lot here.
There is a lot here, and that's, yeah, enormous amount. And we've run this one now through workforce training with Nikki and Brenda, and I know they had some questions too. So I'm jumping ahead, but one of the upcoming priority items I'll do, once we get the contract signed, and after that stage, I might have a Zoom work session with all the subrecipients, beneficiaries, to talk about the next steps and timeframes, and then go over the reporting mechanisms with them in that Zoom work session. And then if they want to do one-on-one Zoom work sessions, I'll do that as well, schedule those. That's really why you see this time frame going out to July. It will take that long to be able to accomplish that. And I'm going to close this so I don't accidentally do something with
Do you
it.
have an idea of when you're gonna hear back from Ethan or whatever on the contract? I just look at it and it says, early May or June.
Mhm.
I'm concerned about the wastewater particularly.
Yeah,
Those-
like-
Yeah, well, and
they're
those have to
not
go
gonna
through,
get those out.
yeah, they're gonna have to go through city councils as well to get approval for their own city councils. I think he said the end of this week. I didn't bring my notes. And then hopefully turn around, we said all along in April, so we can try. I mean, if we just target the water and wastewater projects to begin with the cities. There is some housekeeping we still need to do, though. We have to determine, one, if they're a subrecipient or beneficiary or contractor. We also need to determine if they are banned on sam.gov. I know
If they're what?
banned,
Barred.
barred, not banned, barred on sam.gov. Because that's critical to know. I mean, as
Yeah.
part of our risk assessment, we need to be doing with our due
Yeah,
diligence.
I specifically got a little note from my state auditor saying, here, you have to do this before disbarred is what they're,
Yeah,
before any contract
Okay,
or
I
any
bet.
money is released to the state.
So any contractor to make sure that.
yeah,
they aren't-
debarred,
Debarred
they
Debarred or
aren't on that
suspended.
list.
or suspended on
Yeah.
sam.gov. And the,
so if they are not signed up for sam.gov yet, they'll have to do that so that we can check
And
that
that's
box.
I mean, new information that
right,
they
Yeah.
need to.
right.
But
And what I was just shaking my head and other things. The information he sent me as to how to go look it up, how to search on sam.gov is, that whole website's changed.
Would it make sense now? I mean, I know this would take a little bit of time, but to get something out to everybody right now and just say, if you're not on sam.gov, do it right away.
Yeah, that's what I was just. thinking.
so actually
Yeah.
that's ready to go.
Okay.
I'm waiting to hear. Yeah. Okay. I have the draft email ready to go. I created a form online that asks, I want to know who can sign contracts on their behalf. It's just a contact sheet, what their address is, formal address is, but then part of that, are you on sam.gov? Do you have the unique identifier number, which I don't know. I don't remember the acronym anymore.
UIE.
Yeah, UIE. And if not, here's how you go about and do it. So that they know that they have to do that. And I'm going to give them till next Wednesday if I get that out yet today. So
But it's ready to go.
it's
out
ready to go.
today.
It's in my draft in my emails. I have it populated. I have an Outlook contact list, more than you guys want to know, but with all the contacts in there, so I can just pop it in there.
And when the state auditor sent me that, he said to me, and make sure that you print each one that you verified that they're not.
Oh,
It's-
print out, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, and that is, everything I've been reading lately is part of the risk assessment. I mean, so that we are ensuring that this funding is being done in accordance with the Treasury guidelines.
I mean, this is
Along
all,
with-
it's all, I mean, it's all really, it's a pain in the hiney, but it's to cover our. hiney.
Oh, it is
Oh,
totally,
It
it is totally to cover our butts.
Yeah,
I get that.
It just.
It just adds a whole nother layer of,
Mhm.
yeah, bureaucratic layer. And, you know, it's all about complying with uniform grant guidance and.
Read that way more than I've ever wanted to in my
Right.
life. So that's what the contact forms is on that bullet point, and then the subrecipient beneficiary and contractor checklist, determining that, because the contracts we have to make sure we have that language right for what they are. Are they a beneficiary or subrecipient? I don't think we have any contractors.
and that has
Oh,
an
yeah.
impact on the
Well,
type of
internal.
reporting.
Internal. But
That has
Yeah.
an impact on the reporting.
Yes.
it does.
Absolutely.
So upcoming priority items, those sheets, I'm ready to go out. County Attorney's Office review of the language.
I'm sorry, the contact sheets, and I'm not gonna.
Yeah,
That's an email I have drafted using our form center to get information from all the applicants, who the executive is that can sign the contracts. But it also says if you're not on sam.gov, you need to go on sam.gov.
And we need your sam.gov information if you want.
Yeah. Yeah, the next bullet point, the Google form, I'll draft some. I'll find some time to look at the applications in more detail. Subrecipient determinations, that's that checklist. If we're all good with that. Maybe the subcommittee can meet and go over that. Finalizing the contracts, I put TBD, because I mean, formal approval of everything. I don't know what that will be. I mean, it's gonna be dependent on how soon that they get them. I talked to Ethan, he's like, there's not gonna be a give and take, you know, here's the contract you're in, accept it or not. And if they don't accept it, we'll have them withdraw the application and go through that formal process. But it might be May, early June, if they have to work through a board of directors or a council meeting, whatever that may take. You know, it's on their end too. I mean, they could hold special meetings too.
So your goal is to get it out before the end of May or June?
No,
You're saying-
no. Finalized.
signed and returned.
No,
from
right,
the-
so you want it all done by, but yeah, I just want to
Oh.
say, is your goal is to have your portion out earlier.
Yes.
Then it is beyond your control
Yeah.
till the other entities and get it back to you.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, probably end of May and June is by the time we get all that back.
So you're saying subrecipient determinations prior to 4/27. So finalized contracts, so you can do that shortly after that and get them out early May.
There's not that much of a change between the two. It's in the reporting guidelines more than anything.
Right.
But it's having a change subrecipient versus beneficiary in the contract and making
Okay.
sure we have the right language. Yeah, probably, we already talked about verifying sam.gov. There are a lot of process or procedures and policies, best practices that the board will need to be considering and adopting, as far as timeframes for allowability of the costs that were incurred prior to a start of a period of performance. So what if they went out for bid right when they got the contract and they want to claim engineering costs for that walking a city through a bidding process? Is that eligible to build into, reimbursement expenses? That's a policy that we'll be bringing forward. I'll be bringing forward to you. We also need to identify goals and objectives that we're using, going back to last summer to determine funding priorities. All the guidance I've read is, and watch is you that needs to be really written down as a formal policy or a action item that was done. Written policies and procedures for subrecipient monitoring and risk assessment. We talked about that a little bit with the sam.gov, but what happens if they miss a reporting period? That time frame while I'm there is really tight. In order to get things to Lisa, if they miss a deadline by even one day, she may miss her deadline because I need to compile stuff and give it to her. So
can we set the deadline for the subrecipient or beneficiary, their deadline?
Yeah.
Like a week and a half?
yeah, I've
or
got those
something?
set. Yeah,
I think we're doing 7 days, aren't we, after the end of the
is that-
quarter?
it's in the contract. I don't remember what it said.
I think you asked me 7
Yeah.
days, because we were gonna go with 10 and then you said 7.
Right, and you have to say, getting into the portals, you can't.
I can't get in till after the quarter ends.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So I got a
she
30-day
can't
window.
even
Go in and
I can't, no, I can't even go in and get stuff started
Yeah.
5 business days following.
unless they change that in the next,
Right.
reporting period. At this point in time, they do not, the quarterly report that I'm gonna start working on is not even showing up. I can't get into it until after the quarter ends.
Do you
And
even
then
know what it looks like?
Yeah,
Oh, you know what it looks like, you just can't start entering.
correct.
But after the first time through though, all of that base information should still be in there, right?
Sure.
Should be.
It-
Yeah.
Make it
Yes, but like
I mean,
I
it's still time consuming.
I got through, I did the first report that we had to do for end of January, and I thought, man, this isn't terrible, I can enter these. And this one I'm struggling horribly. They changed things enough that I'm just struggling terribly to get it in, but this time. So yeah, I would like to say that once it's there, I'm good. But that's not the case because I've been doing HVAC all along and now I can't get in there and get anything entered. Can't get it to accept it. I can get it entered, then it just sits there.
And that's only for 3
That's
and
for 3.
administrative.
Mhm.
That's not 20 some, so.
Okay.
And that's why I'm saying we need to make sure we have all the ducks in a row. For various reasons. It's subrecipients, I'm gonna call them all that right now. They have 5 business days following the end of each quarter. Then I have 2 days following that to get the reports to Lisa.
I think you should give them 3 days. I don't think you should give them 5 days.
3.
I think you should give them 3 days.
3
Because
business
what if they
days.
miss it? And then, and what if they miss it by 1 day?
Yeah.
Let's just, think on the bright side. Then that gives you 1 day to get it to Lisa. We already know from past experience that sometimes it can take much longer than that to get
Mhm.
stuff that felt pretty clear.
Who are we gonna be
Basic.
relying on to put some of this information in? For some of the cities, it's gonna be city clerks who may be part-time positions.
And they'll probably just have to prioritize that.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gonna have to do that with their own money.
Yeah,
And the issue is too, is the non-entitled communities, so some of them that, like Ames got their money directly, the other ones that didn't, they have to the state, they report once a year.
Mhm.
Is
Right,
that right? So
right,
there's no way for them
Right.
to enter in
right,
a line.
right.
But I think if we're crystal clear in the contract and then in the work session for what the expectation is, this is the deadline, you're getting this to us on the deadline. If not, then what option do we have other than to say, we're done and pull the
Well,
money
and
back?
what they're getting to us is what's in those spreadsheets.
Right,
So I've got the amount. They're not gonna give me an amount because I've got the amount that we gave to them this quarter. Because that's what I need, is what we gave to them this quarter, not what they've
And you'll be able
assumed.
to do the cumulative and everything too, yeah.
Right, right. So they basically need to answer the required questions on there that are not related to the funds. So it's not something that they have to wait until the end of the quarter to do,
right, right.
I don't think, but
Yeah, they've got this type of spreadsheet they could be entering
Right.
in.
Mhm.
We just have to be super clear with them.
I think that comes from the training then that Leanne
Yeah.
does, it's saying
Yeah.
it would be to your benefit to be inputting all along because
Right.
the portal that opens for you, you don't have a whole lot of time, Lisa,
No.
to get all that information
Right,
in there.
right.
So our time frame's short because our reporting to the feds is short.
I can go with 3 business days.
I thought we were being a little tight at 5, but
Yeah.
go with 3. I don't care.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if, I don't want to see, I don't want to see us squeezed too tight at the end where we, for some reason, can't get the information in because,
Oh, I have until 11:45 that night. 30.
Right. and what if you're sick and what if something happens or what if,
I already
You
told
know,
Lisa, if
I
I get
mean-
hit by a bus, she's gonna do this reporting and have fun with that.
oh.
Because her and I are the only ones that have the access at this point in time.
Yeah.
Right, right.
That's why I'm getting on all those additional recording webinars.
And I'm trying to as well too. So I know when she asks me a question, I know how I can best find the solution and the answer.
So Lisa, at the end of the quarter, you have how many weeks to get the reporting all done?
It's due April 30th at 11:45 this month, this time.
So
11:45 PM.
Quarter ended March 30th, so you got a month. and 3 weeks. So I guess the question is 3 days then? I get what you're saying. We want to make sure that both of them have enough time. Is that too tight or not? I mean, I'm okay with it. I just want to make sure that we're not looking at, she's only got 2 weeks, you've got. a couple
You know,
weeks.
think about it. It's the 20th right now and I'm not done with this report yet because
So,
I'm
okay.
struggling with it still.
So, okay.
And they may change something.
And oh gosh, it would.
I mean, they may.
Yeah, no, I
They're
agree.
changing stuff, who knows?
Maybe they'll make it easier.
Yeah, yeah.
From your
Oh,
lips.
yeah.
From your
I
lips.
think I'd rather have more time on your end.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
that way, if one of our agencies does, or one of our contracts does run into problems that they simply can't deal with, and we don't want to say, I'm not going to say out loud, but we could have a little bit of flexibility. I mean, say it's a city and their clerk is sick.
Right, right. We want to make sure we leave enough time on our side
That we could, if we,
to get things
Yes.
taken care of.
exactly,
Or if they need
Exactly.
help or
or,
whatever the case is.
yeah,
So my plan is to, I think, I didn't bring my notes. It's either week 1 of the month before they're due, to send out an email reminder with a spreadsheet, follow up that week 3 of the month before they're due from their recipients back. So before the end of the quarter, just say, hey, we're going to need this for you, send out an email reminder, and then that's it. You know, I can only babysit them so much, especially if I'm going to be inputting all the data too.
I think it'd be good too, if you, in your reminders, if you say, hey, I sent you the first reporting on,
Yeah.
you know, May
Second
1st or
warning.
whatever. If you're sending a second or third reminder, you're referring back to when you first sent those reminders.
and then you go on the, you know, in your communication to them, your training, just say, we don't have any choices here, we don't have any options.
Mhm.
So they understand how crucial it is, you know, yeah, if you can't make these deadlines, if you get this to us in time, we don't have any option but to, you know, pull the money back.
And that's,
Said nicer than that.
but I think that's one thing we need to write in a policy too. Okay, once, twice, 3
Mhm.
times. No, we're not meeting deadlines. So I'm trying to get some information, what others are doing from that policy standpoint. So I can not try and reinvent the wheel. Yeah,
Yeah, and probably gonna talk about this at some point, but are we doing reimbursements? Are we doing? That was my thought from day one, was we would be doing reimbursement of expenses, not fronting money.
Right, but if let's say we're 2 quarters in right?
Mhm.
And they missed, or were 3/4 and they missed the last 2 deadlines, or they missed a deadline. Where do we say this is not working, you are not reporting, and we cannot continue? Then we have to claw it back.
If they're on a reimbursement, well, we've got some contracts already that we're on a quarterly advance.
Right.
The workforce-
Quarterly, well, the workforce is on a quarterly expense, yes.
Yeah, so they get their draw beginning of the quarter and they submit to you the documentation of what the expenditures were.
Would you say that?
That's what, that's what the
I mean, that's
contract
what
said.
the. Okay.
For the workforce initiative, retraining
Yeah,
initiative.
I'm paying them and I'm hoping somebody's making sure that everything's,
I have done one round with them, so.
So you're saying we have gotten them documentation?
Your report, the report that Nikki
the
gave.
report that Nikki gives.
Okay, but they aren't giving you backup expenses like their payroll, that kind of thing?
Well, I haven't gotten that.
Contracts that they have to.
And on that note, we do probably need to amend that contract too.
To require that?
No, just to
The
address,
additional information.
Address the
Oh,
contracts we're drawing up now.
But would you check your contract?
Yeah.
To make sure, because I really thought that when we put that together, we asked for
I'll follow up.
documentation of expenses.
I don't.
It's part of my catch up I'm doing.
Okay.
Is that one, because I was not really involved with those discussions early on. So like I said, it's been a learning experience from the get-go with this.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How many times have we said we don't know what we don't know? Or something?
There's no such thing as free money.
Yeah. So I can change the contract to 3 business days then. And develop written policies. We also need to have some policies for, I already said subrecipient monitoring. Gain to Lisa's point, that's what I do want some clarification on though. We had talked about it would be reimbursement for all these subrecipients. Is that?
Like not fronting money.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be taxed.
Just wanted to verify
That was how
So-
we originally talked about it, but I want to make sure that.
So we'll have a claims process defined for them as subrecipients and then have to back out from our timeframes to ensure I can get the materials to Lisa in timely fashion or bookkeeping.
Right.
For payment.
For payment.
And then there are some modifications I need to do to the website. These are kind of actually in priority order of things I need to work on for the upcoming priority items, and then begin the process of building a dashboard for public outreach. And Matt Boyd with our GIS coordinator is gonna help me with that. That's probably gonna be an August timeframe, if we can even accomplish it by then. I did include a link to Arapahoe County, because they put together a funding partner toolkit that I would like to bring to the board for consideration too, because we've already had a couple of issues where individuals have wanted to use the county logo as part of their branding. I think you need to have a policy, a best management practice that this is how you do that. This is what you're allowed to do. Because you do have an adopted logo policy. We want to make sure that that's verified. So I'll be developing that, and that'll be part of that workshop training I do as well. There'll be also a policy for record maintenance and retention. And I think that's all I think that's it. I'm sure there's other stuff that I did not write down. So I can probably use what we have. Record retention stuff.
In in addition to what Leanne was talking about with the claim payment process, I put together what I think, where I think the coding will be for each of the different types of things we're funding. So I've put together, I mean, when we put the budget together for next year, I basically did here's some money in each of these little service areas so that we have some room. I actually built the line items, built the coding and all that kind of stuff so she can put them on the claims and use them for each project. I think we talked at budget time that I didn't know for sure how to, all of the sewer projects with the cities. I consider those non-program current, which is not something we normally budget in. So I put some money in there. And I think that's how I'm going to code all of because I consider them pass-through type dollars. So their total project is this amount of money. They're putting toward this, we're putting toward this. It's just basically non-program. It's not our capital project, it's somebody else's capital project. It's going to be a live and learn on that one too, because I'm right now I'm amending the current year budget to move some dollars around too from what we did in July when we amended some dollars in. So yeah, budgeting is giving me a headache every now and then too.
So non-program current.
So in the past, the only time this county has ever used non-program current,
So that's it.
it's a service
Okay,
area.
Okay.
Okay.
That's what I
So
was
we've got our 9 service areas that we use,
Right.
and then we have capital projects, right?
Mhm.
If you look at the description for any of those, it's Story County, our projects. The non-program current was reported, or the pipeline, when the pipeline came through and we paid IS&G and then we got reimbursed from Dakota Access. I ran all those expenses through the non-program current because were directly reimbursed.
Gotcha.
This is not the same type of a thing, but it's not our project.
Right.
If it's a city of Colo or a city of Nevada or a city of Huxley project, it's not our project. But we're putting funds toward it and we have to budget them somewhere.
Gotcha. I was missing that it was a service.
Right. So that I feel like hopefully we've got taken care of as far as where each of those are going to be funded from and what type of a project they are. The housing, the YSS, whatever the case may be, we built it into the whatever service area in our budget it needs to be, except for those externals. Lisa did ask me a question and I haven't answered it because I don't really know the answer to the question. Yesterday. And I was busy yesterday because I just came back, by the way. Do we need to do a resolution about the 10 million revenue loss?
Yeah, because I've seen others that are doing that. That's been a discussion on base camp.
I feel like we talked about that at the ISAC conference.
Right.
And I thought it was discussed that there wouldn't need to be a resolution. I mean, I don't think it hurts anything to do it, but
Yeah, I mean, it's something else to find out. I only asked that because there's been on base camp, there's been a whole lot of questions and people providing examples of resolutions for that $10 million. So that's what then heightened me to say,
Yeah.
oh gosh, what has changed?
Right.
Should we be looking at doing a resolution or
have you
not?
seen anything that in any of the new information that's come out?
I haven't. And
I think that my take on it is, this is not a direction from up above. That's how counties are handled. It's not a, you have to do this or you have to do
It's not
that.
a US Treasury
Correct,
requirement,
correct.
but does it, is it something that we want to do or
What?
should do to help
Clarify.
clarify? the
I mean, I
net
assume my
$10 million?
report, my quarterly report answers that question, but that's just me.
No, and that could be, that's why I asked you, Lisa.
Right.
was, do we need to? Because I know you were gonna capture $10 million from your quarterly report. Is
Right.
that enough? Only brought it up because I've seen kind of, I don't want to say a flurry, but several questions. People saying, well, we're gonna do a resolution. This is further acknowledgement that that's what we're doing with a portion of ours. Do we need to or not, or is it extra work? If it's extra work, I don't want to go that road if we don't need to.
Well, and the question is, do you have to have the exact number? If we put a resolution, if we do a resolution, we say it's gonna be this much, it's not gonna necessarily be 10 million, correct?
Well, and I look at it as up to 10 million. We can take 10 million, so I'm putting 10 million in there. But no, I don't think when it's all said and done, if we spend 8 million of it, is there a penalty? No. Because we spent 12 million on other projects. I mean, that's how I look at it, but maybe I'm looking at it too broadly. I don't know.
Well, it's all ARPA money. We're just saying.
Correct.
10 million of it,
Can
we're
be
doing as
used.
revenue loss, it gives you a little bit more flexibility. So the
Right.
Other ones that we've already kind of identified could be paid out of the revenue
Revenue
loss
loss.
portion.
Mhm.
But we wouldn't have to come up to that 10 million.
Right.
Well, out of the whole amount of pot of money that we get, whatever we haven't spent by the end of 26 goes back. Whether it's revenue loss or not revenue loss, it doesn't matter.
It's just if we put it under categorize it under revenue loss, you have a little bit more flexibility.
And the reporting is way easier.
Right, so you might as well.
I was
Like,
thinking
We
you
might
could
as well
say
look at
that.
something that's on our list and say to move it now, but
I don't know that you have
I
to
don't know
do
that
that.
you
I
have to
think you
move
can
it.
just, I think because it's all ARPA
Quote
money.
unquote, but
you
it's
don't
all in
have
the
to-
ARPA fund.
what we have approved as a board doesn't say this is from revenue
It
loss.
doesn't
or this
matter.
is from
No,
anything
no.
else, whether
It's
they're
just
doing
ARPA
extra.
funds.
Right,
Okay, then,
Yeah.
It's a mechanism for us to use dollars for projects that don't have to fit in one of these expense categories and have extra
Yeah.
reporting requirements on them.
but at some point, do we have to document somehow what we're.
It's still coming out of ARPA funds. I can run a report on every dime of that,
So
anytime
it's
you
somehow
want.
in your reporting that you're doing.
I'm gonna say this quarter we spent, well, for instance, the March 31st quarter end, we spent $359.60 on testing for the jail out of revenue loss. There you go.
And when you report, there's a place to say whether it's revenue loss or
Yes.
not, because that gets you out of doing the additional
Yes.
reporting.
Correct.
So you'll have through that, you're telling it's revenue loss.
Correct.
And we're comfortable with Lisa doing that and us not doing a resolution or anything that says, but this is revenue loss or this not.
Okay, so here's how I'm handling, if there's something that comes across my desk that makes sense to me, that it's related to the pandemic, for instance, the
Sure.
testing out there. And we've got 10 million in revenue loss that we can use as a reporting mechanism. Right? I think I emailed you on that one specifically and said, this is what was paid for. Do you guys have a problem with me paying for it out of
Right.
ARPA funds,
Right.
which is revenue loss in that case?
I figured out why it might be important. Because we still have some things out there that we might be considering on down the road to use ARPA funds on. Right?
Right.
like roads. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I
Yes.
just want to make a comment. As first I heard of last week at our exec board meeting for county engineers that this 10 million could now be spent on pretty much anything, including roads and bridges. So that was a surprise to me. I haven't been involved with the process up till now, so I know very little about what you've done up till now, but they were saying that you had to pass a resolution by the end of this month if you were gonna even consider spending it on roads or bridges or anything else in that category.
Yeah, I don't think that that's accurate.
It might not be, but just wanted to bring that up.
So this quarterly report that I'm doing right now and that everybody has to do, despite the size of county they are, no matter how much money they got. So all the smaller places that got under 10 mil, or no, under 10 million and have a population of less than 250,000, which is what, 90 counties. They have to do an annual this spreadsheet. They have to do the reporting to the government, but they have to do it annually. And there's a one-time option to say how much you're going to use for revenue loss. They can use anything up to what they got, as long as it's under 10 million. So that would make sense to me, that's why they're saying they need to make that determination by the end of the quarter or end of the month, because their quarterly report gives them a one-time option to do that. We're in a little bit different situation because we are one of the 10 counties or 9 counties that got over 10 million and have a population of less than 250,000. We have to do quarterly reporting. So I've already done a quarterly report that ended December 31st. And until the final rules came out, you didn't have that option of saying you could use it all for revenue loss or up to 10 million for revenue loss. So at this point in time, my first quarterly report did not put the 10 million there. This one's going to, because we have that option for up to 10 million.
And we need to tell them that that's what we're doing.
Correct.
So I think that's where there might be some confusion. We have to tell them, tell the feds by a certain date, tell them now that we're going to take that up to that 10 million in
But
revenue
doing it
loss.
as a reporting will be sufficient and we don't need a resolution is what it sounds like we're saying.
It's up to you. If you want, I can put a resolution together. It's not going to break my heart.
Should we do it? Since so many counties are doing it, does it hurt? If it doesn't hurt, I'd say let's do it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's fine.
Is that,
we could do it that way. It just covers us.
it covers
It just covers us.
Now, if I get back to what I was saying, and Darren, thanks for what you brought up, but let me try to finish this thought. Lisa, did I hear you, Markley, did I hear you saying that there may be things that are coming up that you're putting towards revenue loss that aren't in our plan?
Aren't in our
The
plan.
plan we approved, revised March 24th
Correct.
memo. That's what I'm considering what the supervisors have approved.
Okay.
So if I'm a supervisor and I'm thinking other requests are coming our way, some of them might be ARPA eligible, I can look at this and say, I think we have this much money left. But if you're putting things to revenue loss that we don't know about, we don't really know how much money we have left.
I just told you. I cleared it before I did that,
Okay.
first of all.
Okay,
And second of all, I understand what you're saying completely. Those projects are approved. Those are set aside
yeah,
dollars, okay?
but there's.
I don't know how much we're gonna spend on those.
We won't spend more than we're contracting for.
Correct.
Okay,
But what if something gets pulled? What if something gets?
I know.
What I'm
Those are the-
saying is, if something comes, and I can stop doing it, I can not do that. I don't care if you don't like me doing it. But when something comes across my desk that is obvious to me can be used as something that is for the purpose of pandemic or recovery,
Mhm.
it's been one claim so far for $359. It's not as though they're coming across my desk in heavy loads.
Okay,
I have no intention of saying, oh, this project for $4 million came across my desk and we should do this. That doesn't work that way at all in our budget.
okay, and please don't take it personally.
No,
saying
I understand what you're saying, kinda. But I also know that I'm not gonna change the coding of it if I can get around it. So I'm not gonna, I've already had to do that with one project because the McFarland Lake Restoration project got reversed off because it's not eligible. Okay, so I had to do a reimbursement of all of that and change the coding of it. It's a different fund, if it's a different coding process. So I don't want to fix, oh, that should have been paid out of this, or that should have been paid out of this, or that should have been paid out of this. When it comes across my desk, it makes a lot more sense to me to do it then. Now, I don't know what's going to happen with those dollars eventually. We've got 12 million of it in those dollars right there. And we're saying 10 million revenue loss. So there's 22 million and we got 18. You know what I'm saying? It's not an exact science at this point in time.
I know, it's like everything's a moving.
Yes,
moving target
yes.
right now, and I understand that, but I'm trying to think ahead to where do we go and.
What are you going to determine to be revenue loss use? I don't know.
Yeah, I think the point is, we just want to make sure we're not trickling away what
Right.
we have left, but
Yes, that's.
It's
what
$10
I'm
million.
talking about.
yeah.
It's a third of our normal budget.
I really don't.
I don't see it trickling away is my deal.
I think for me, I look at it as whatever we can do to get this money out. Just in general, I kind of look at that, because yes, we've got a number of projects that we want to look at, but I just need all the reporting and all the time that's gonna take. The earlier we can be done with it, I think the better. It's just kind of my one thought on it. I think we could also come to you, Lisa, or I'm sure you've got some sort of spreadsheet or whatever of projects we've got in here and other ones that we are, that make some sense that to be ARPA that we can look at to say, okay, this is where we're at.
The S drive.
The finance one.
Yeah.
I,
You may already
I'm
have that
trying to
there.
update the S drive finance one as we go. So it will be as I report, as I do, as we spend, okay?
Oh, here it is.
See, look at all the new project codes. Look what they did to us. Go to there, yeah, click on revenue loss. So at this point in time, I was doing a separate spreadsheet for revenue loss. We specifically talked when you did the IT, the board camera or the project for in here. I don't have anything spent. All I know is that you guys said, yes, let's pay for it out of there. I think it's 64,000, but I don't want to put an amount in there until we pay for it.
Right.
So what I was going to do was just update this as I pay anything out of revenue loss. If you go back to the total obligations page, it should say revenue loss used at the bottom for FY22 so far. It's out there. Anybody can say, what have we spent it on? What have we? And if you say, like the IT one, for instance, if you guys make a decision at a board meeting, let's use revenue loss for that, then I'll put it out here as this is something you guys plan on spending revenue loss for.
That's great. That's helpful. We're over time. So I do want to raise one thought that I had. I would like to request that Leanne attend the NACO conference in July, and that we use ARPA funds to send her to the conference so that she can have access to all of the work sessions and whatever else she might be able to get for ARPA through the NACO conference. There were so many workshops at the last conference.
When is it again?
July 20.
As if it was a timetable and what needs to be done.
So as
Well-
ARPA, or as NACO members, she doesn't have access to, as a county NACO membership, she doesn't have access to that stuff? I mean, that's how I'm getting on any of the websites by NACO.
Right, no, she
is
has
that-
access to
Okay.
all the information. I just know, for me,
Mhm.
it was really good for me to be talking to so many different people who were dealing with the same things, and they were raising questions I hadn't thought about,
Thought about.
we hadn't worked through.
Right,
I just think being with people who are doing the
Sure,
same
doing it.
thing is helpful, and I feel like this is huge. This is a huge
You
thing that
think?
she's carrying.
Yeah.
Well, that you're
She
both
is,
carrying.
yeah.
I think you should both go. I just know you don't want to go, so, but I think you should both go because
Do we have to, is there an agenda out yet? I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to that. I want to make sure Lindsay and want to go and
there's,
give
Right.
them time to go.
did you signed up, right?
I signed up. There's no
There's no-
breakdown
okay,
of what
there's no
the
breakdown on
workshops are
agenda.
yet.
That's easy, thank you.
I don't know, and this isn't a place, I mean,
This
I'm
isn't a
not
place
putting
to
this
make
out
it-
there to make
yeah,
any
this isn't a
decisions. I
place
just
to
wanted
decision.
to put it,
Out
I
there.
wanted to talk about it in the work session and let you guys know that that was what I was thinking about. I think it would be a benefit for both of you to go.
So-
I know you don't want
I mean, US timeframe. So a lot of the stuff will be, the contracts will be signed and stuff too. But I think when we come to what goes on, I hope, yeah. What goes on past that, it is a moving target what the treasury is coming down with. And so that gets to your question too. I see value in going because then I can interact with people other than just sitting on a webinar. And sometimes sometimes I get fed up when people ask questions that I already know the answers to, and I have to wait for them to respond in a webinar format. If I could just interact with people too. But it is a time commitment though. It's what, 4 or 5 days with travel, I think over the weekend.
Yeah, it's a Thursday through Sunday.
Yeah, and that would be, especially if you have the recipients get their documentation, because you'd have, no, it's a quarterly, no, you'd have a quarterly report due. In July. So June 30th would be the end date. We have to get those reports in.
Probably 31st, they'll probably give me 31 days.
Well, right.
They said it was the last.
The last weekend in July.
Yeah, it's the last weekend of
What's the
July.
deadline to register?
We've missed the early bird.
Okay, is there another deadline then? If we've already missed the early bird?
I don't think there is.
I need to know from my family standpoint
Mhm.
and planning accordingly with personal reasons sooner rather than later. And then the financial part of it too. Yeah, so due date would be July, so June 30th and
Leanne asked me a really funny question the other day. She wanted to know if there was any guidance out there from the state auditors, and I laughed hysterically. No, they have more, but it's more apt to come in and say you did this, and this
Yeah.
wrong, rather than tell you, they don't.
They gave us guidance, that gave us guidance on the one project, but no, that didn't meet the criteria.
Right.
Let me go back to the question that I was asking earlier, because what it really gets down to is what is our process going to be and when are we going to be ready to do it, to decide what we're doing with the rest of the money. And Leanne, I thought I saw something earlier when I was looking at your time frames about that, but I'm not seeing it right now.
The top, this is my schedule till the end of July, basically, or early July, not end of July, early July.
There it is. After these to-do
Yeah.
items are accomplished, begin to discuss the next rounds as applicable.
That's what I would hope you would do.
Wait until July.
So we're gonna do next
after
rounds, or
Are
we're
we
gonna
doing
do
next round?
internal?
I-
What
no,
what
that's
are we gonna
what-
do?
I don't know,
Right.
yeah. I mean,
That's
that's
one thing we
the,
need.
Yeah,
That's something we
the
need to
elephant in the
discuss
room.
and we need to decide pretty quickly. If we're not doing next rounds, we're gonna be giving a lot of money back, and we're just gonna be deciding it.
or we don't do, I mean,
Are we doing it as
our
revenue
next
loss?
rounds means we're gonna open up for new applications. Are we gonna open up for new applications or?
That's
internal
not
needs.
What I necessarily took that to be. It could mean that, or it could be when we start looking again at what we might want to do, whether or not we put it out to the world, say, or Story
Mhm.
County, Wilton Story County to say, does anybody have anything they'd love us to spend the ARPA money on? Or do we do it internally, or do we do it according to some goals that we decide on? We need to have that. I was hoping that was what we were going to discuss today, because I think we need, people are asking, not that we have to answer because people are asking, but I'm asking myself too. Because, you know, we may end up with some projects out of it that take a bit of time. If we delay and we go till after July, are we gonna be, you know, not having the time that we would need to do some things?
Why don't we set another work session? And it doesn't have to be a whole group work session, it can be, but to talk about priorities. Just specific to, because we needed to have this work session so that we could go through everything we just went through, give
Figure out where
Leanne
we
and
are.
Lisa some more guidance.
And that could get to that developing the process overview too, because I think from everything I've read, that's necessary that we have that for our record keeping too. Whether it's the state auditors coming in or even the treasury, the federal level, just this is the analysis we went through, the process we went through to accept applications in this last October. We did a survey. We don't have to do a recovery plan because we're below, not above that threshold.
Mhm.
But kind of that though too, to be able to be transparent with the public too, so that they know how and where these funds are being used.
And how we make those decisions.
Yes. Did you get all the answers from us that you expected or needed today? What you just said, one of the purposes here was to make sure that you got direction and feedback that you needed.
I'll put a resolution on the board for you next Tuesday.
And I'll check with Ethan and see where we are in the 3-bit on the contracts. And then work on the additional conditions approval as may be needed for applications. We'll have to make that a priority.
Do we want to look at another work session? Sure. We want to,
I think we do need to, and I don't think we're dependent on getting any information back before we have that discussion and talk about what we're gonna do.
what is Wednesday, the 27th?
Morning would be better for me.
27th.
Yeah, next Wednesday.
Wednesday morning
The morning would work,
would work better for me.
that good afternoon, thanks.
Yeah.
I was just bring my calendar.
What?
I was just bring my calendar.
No, I'm sorry.
No, I'm kidding.
Do you have something?
I'll rearrange it.
When are we gonna?
Well, and that's,
just prior to that?
Yeah, I'll get it. I think that's just.
it
internal
doesn't
too.
necessarily have to be the whole ARPA group either. It can just be,
I think Kathleen is our ARPA manager.
yeah.
She probably needs to be here.
She needs to be here.
And Lisa does the financial stuff, so I think,
I think we're the ARPA manager.
but yeah, I mean, I think we need the two of them here.
Yeah.
But no, I can, if it's
I mean, what is the goal of the next meetings?
What I would like us to do, I would like us to talk about what our priorities are, looking forward. I would like us to figure out what our priorities are, just in general, for the next 2 to 4 years. Doesn't it make sense for us to say, okay, we have this pot remaining, here are our general priorities, what we would like to see happen in the county or whatever that is. And does it not make sense to have that money go towards what our overarching priorities are?
So you're saying just for ARPA funds or in general?
In general, what are our priorities in general? And how can these remaining ARPA dollars help us move closer to whatever those priorities might be, the direction we want the county to go?
Well, that almost sounds like a visioning exercise.
It does, yeah. Yeah,
And
or, you know, what are the top 3 things that we're concerned about? Like, whether that's bridges, like, you know, just talking about just really brainstorming the best ways to use the funds in general.
which is that we not take people's, if we're just doing a visioning kind of thing, which I think we're doing, that Lisa's got plenty of stuff to do figure out right now. You know, you could be welcome, but we wouldn't require you to be there for like that first phase.
Reporting.
What?
She's gonna be working on reporting that.
She's gonna be working
Next
on
Wednesday.
reporting. I think, and that she has to have that be her first priority.
Right.
Leanne, I think your knowledge of the county and some things that might be useful to have you here. And we could probably get, you know, if this is gonna be an open session.
I mean, it really shouldn't have to be, right?
We need to have somebody working, you know, having it available on Zoom. I think we can do that. What we could do is, would be really nice to have a facilitated visioning exercise, but we're gonna shortcut that,
Yeah,
okay? And we know enough about visioning, we can do that. If each of us brought 3 to 5 priorities and explained what they were and why they were important, I think we could get a list that could keep us, that could suffice.
and I guess that's why I was saying, I don't know that it needs to be the whole ARPA team, if they're just talking about
It does.
direction. And
We
then,
could invite people, but say it's not required, like Leanne.
Yeah.
I think you would want to be here.
Yeah.
I think you'd be a valuable resource for it.
I'm helping Lisa do the reporting that day. I'm holding her, no, I can be available if it's next Wednesday morning.
I'm not opposed to doing that. I'm just trying to figure out a little bit of, we kind of did what our priorities were with our first round and kind of identifying kind of the direction, and we opened it up for communities to do that. I guess I would kind of look at the funds that are coming forward or requests that come forward to us, whether it's internal or external, and have that discussion of, is this something we want to fund, and could we fund it out of ARPA funds? Do we need to go through a whole vision of what we want to do for limited dollars, for a limited time frame?
my idea, if I may, my idea with that is, if we identify 3 priority areas, right? Then maybe we target a grant opportunity to this priority area. So we're not opening it up for every possible request.
And we're just talking ARPA funds. Is that right, Lisa?
Funding, you mean?
Are you just talking ARPA or are you talking any county funding?
I was just talking ARPA. I mean,
Okay, the reason I brought that up is we know we have other
yeah,
things that are going on and I don't know how we fold those in.
I don't, yeah, no, I was just thinking, as it relates to ARPA.
I think we know about, Lisa, and this is response to what I think I heard you say. I think we know that there are things now that could be funded that we didn't get requests on, such as Darren's talking about roads, bridges, culverts, that kind of thing. That was not anything in the original ARPA. And you've looked at that and you're pretty confident that is something.
It falls into revenue loss for sure.
Yeah.
It falls in revenue loss,
Yeah.
so that's not, then we don't have infrastructure restrictions.
No,
No,
None of them for revenue
No.
loss.
No.
just what you normally would have done.
and I think the work session would provide us the space to talk about all of that. Like, we wouldn't have to pick 3 or 4 areas, but we're 20 minutes over time, and I know everybody is busy. So I'm just thinking it would give us another opportunity to talk just like we are right now. And maybe at the end of the conversation, it's like, yeah, that sounded like a good idea, but then there's these other things. So if we don't end up going that direction.
I could go back and revisit, not this strategic plan, but the one, well, even this one, the current strategic plan, the mechanisms that our consultants and then staff used the one before to solicit input on priorities and see if that could be tweaked a little bit, just to send to you to like a jumping point to help you gather thoughts and list out some stuff. Keeping in mind too, the results of the survey that was done last summer, the community needs assessment, and like, I gotta ask Sandra, the gaps and needs that have been identified throughout, the past 2 years, 2+ years. I have access to those materials still, so it's not a huge labor intensive to do that. If it's something you want me to try to tackle and get that out here, probably by the end of the week.
Make it quick. simple,
Yeah,
word
it's
doc.
I think it probably is.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, won't make a fancy form. And that might help the discussion.
So Wednesday, 9 to 11.
What time, Greg, what time is the breakfast on, 8:30?
Eight thirty.
Is that,
Is it 8:30?
It's, yeah, that's where I have it ending on mine.
that's the breakfast.
Yeah.
Were we supposed to RSVP for that?
Oops.
Yeah,
I think I did. Yeah. I
goes to
think I
Brenda, I think.
What?
Goes to Brenda.
Okay.
I
Yeah, I
guess
saw
she
that
and I-
and then I couldn't find that, so.
She and I emailed back and forth about payment.
Would you like to RSVP? I can just tell them. that.
Yes, please do. I thought I had it on my calendar
Yeah.
somewhere and then I didn't. And so
a
that,
personal RSVP.
Yeah.
look at that.
Lisa has got.
that's 7:30.
7:30 to 8:30 on my
Yeah.
calendar.
I have it 7.
I have it 7 as well.
I have it at
It's
7.
7.
Okay.
That's
It's
what I
7,
have.
I have to be there at 7:15.
Okay. All right,
Okay.
it's on my calendar. No, it's just, I've got so much on my calendar, it's just one thing I miss.
That's administrative professionals day too.
Okay. And then you still want to do 9 to 11 then? Or-
Oh, 7, sorry.
that on my calendar.
We have public comment. Anybody want to make public comment?
Stop sharing. have to look at myself though too.
So we have next meeting date and time.
Yep.
We're done.
Okay,
We'll adjourn.
all right, we're adjourned. Thank you.